everyone, my name is Liai Peng. Today we would like to present about Chapter 3 Power Transmission from our course, which is DJJ 6153 Mechanical Components and Maintenance. And my team members are me, Liai Peng, NAZIRUL, NAM, NAZRIN, and AQIB. And so what is power transmission? Power transmission is the movement of energy from its place of generation to a location where it is applied to perform a useful work. And the units for power is kgms -2 or watts. And this is types of drive mechanism to drive the machines and equipments. The energy is required for a variety of applications. Available of power and energy can be transmitted to get the desired motion and work. And mechanical power may be transmitted using a component which are drive shaft, transmission gears, belt drives, chain drive, and also arm connectors. And this is the three main types of drive mechanism, which are belt drive, gear drive, and hand drive. And for the first one is belt drive. Belt drive. Belt drive is a flexible material which is belt used to link two or more rotating shafts mechanically, and the connecting belt is kept in tension so that the motion of one pulley is transferred to the other without slip. And the commonly used belt is flat belt and V-belt. And flat belt, the application of flat belt is conveyor, one of the application. And the application of V-belt is industrial machines or motors. Secondly, chain drive. Chain drive. Chain drive is the most often made of metal belt mats. Chains may prove stronger than belt. And the chain drive consists three elements, which are driving sprocket or driver, and driver sprocket and endless chain. The endless chain, which is wrapped around the sprocket as shown in the figure. And the third one, gear drive. Gear drive. Gear drive is a rotating machine parts having cut teeth or cogs, which match with another tooth part in order to transmit or to produce and provide torque. In order to transmit a definite power from one shaft to another shaft to the projection on one disc and recessors to another disc can be made which can match with each other. But this method is not suitable for transmitting higher power because the slip can occur between the discs. And this is the three main types of gear that can be commonly used, which are spur gear, gear, bevel gear, worm gear, and pinion. Gear 3.2 Gear in power transmission. Gear in power transmission. The gear transmission is most widely used form of transmission in mechanical transmission. The transmission is more accurate, high efficiency, compact structure, and long service life, and also it is reliable. And the gear transmission is two or more gears that are machined together to provide speed and torque conversion from a rotating power source to another device such as cars and bicycles. But this is not suitable for long distance transmission. And this is the advantages and disadvantages of gear transmission. Experience. The advantage of gear transmission are compact structure suitable for long short-term transmission. This is wide range of applicable peripheral speeds and powers. This is accurate, stable, and also efficient. And it is also have a long life and high reliability. And it can revise the transmission between the parallel axis, intersecting, and staggered axis of any angle. And about disadvantages of gear in power transmission systems are installation accuracy high, cost high, and also high manufacturing. And it is not suitable for long distance transmission between two axes. And the gear transmission is not provide overload protection. And 3.2.1 Application of gear. And this is a treat of application that we get from our study. For the first one, transmission. Transmission is two or more gear working in tandem are called a transmission and produce a mechanical advantage through a gear ratio, and thus may be considered a simple machine. And secondly, the direction. The direction can be changed. The gear devices can change the speed, magnitude, and the direction of power source. For example, it can change the gear from clockwise to anti-clockwise. And the third one, couplings. Couplings is a device used to connect two shafts together at their ends for the purpose of transmitting power. And the purpose also is to join two pieces of rotating equipment while permitting some degree of misalignment and end of movement or both, and disallow disconnection of shafts. That's all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is AHMAD NAZIRUL SYAZWAN bin MAZLAN. My matric number is 09DKM18F1017, and today I will represent classified type of gear and their characteristic based on its function. Okay, the first one is external and internal gear. An external gear is one of which the teeth form on the outer surface of a cylinder cone. An internal gear is one with the teeth form on the inner surface of a cylinder cone. Internal gear do not cause output shaft direction reverse. Next is spur gear. Spur gear or straight cut gear are the simplest type of gear. They consist of a cylinder or disc with the teeth projectile radially, and although they are not straight side in form, the edge of each tooth is straight and aligned parallel to the axis of rotation. This gear can be meshed together correctly only if they are fit to parallel shaft. Next is helical gear. Helical gear are one of type of cylinder gear with slanted toe teeth. Compared to spur gear, they have the larger contact ratio and less vibration and able to transmit large force. A pair of helical gear has the same helic angle but the opposite helic hand. Next is double helical gear. A double helical gear is incorporate two opposite orientated helical gear of the same helic angle together such that the two opposing thrust force annihilate one another. Bevel gear. Bevel gear are gear where the edges of the two shafts intersect and the tooth bearing face of the gear themselves are conically shaped. Bevel gear are most often mounts of shafts that are 90 degrees apart, but can be designed to work at other angle as well. And the next is crown gear. A crown gear is a gear which have teeth that project at right angle to the face of the wheel. In particular, crown gear is a type of bevel gear where the pitch cone angle is 90 degree. A pitch cone of any angle is simply called a bevel gear. And the next is worm gear. A worm gear is a specific gear composition is which a screw mesh with a gear always similar to a spur gear. The setup allow the user to determine rotation speed and also allow for higher torque to be transmitted. So this worm gear can be adjusted. And the rack and pinion gear. Rack and pinion gear is a type of linear actuator that comprise a pair of gear which convert rotational motion into linear motion. Rack and pinion combines are often used as a simple linear actuator, where the rotation of a shaft powered by hand or by a motor is converted to linear motion. And this is epicyclic. In epicyclic gearing, one or more gear adds move. Example are sun and planet gearing and mechanic differential. And at the bottom is sun and planet gearing. And last one is magnetic gear. A magnetic gear use permanent magnet to transmit torque between an input and output shaft without mechanical contact. As you can see, this photo of magnetic gear. And this is identify gear meshing and backlash. In a pair of gear, backlash is the amount of clearance between the meshing tooth. Backlash unavoidable for nearly all reserving mechanic components that are compound but could be minimized. So this is the photo of backlash.
Assalamualaikum. Nama saya Muhammad AQIB ADNAN dari kelas DKM 5A, nombor matrik 09 DKM 18 F1005. Hari ini saya akan membentangkan tentang gear system. Okay. First, explain a complaint concept into gear system. Meaning, when power transmission occurs between two or more pair of gear drive and driven. Gear pair serve as a complaint. Gear as a complaint is first point is gear are also used to connect two nominally concealed shaft. Second point is this joint allow to minor misalignment such as installation error and change in shaft alignment due to operating condition. Third point is each joint consists of a 1:1 gear ratio, internal and external gear pair. Fourth point is the tooth flank and outer diameter of the external gear are crowned to allow for angular displacement between the two gears. And the last point is purpose of complaints is to join two pieces of rotating equipment wire. Next, identify gear maintenance practice such as daily routine inspection. The routine inspection includes of first lubrication. Lubrication is in order for a gear drive to operate at all time. It must be supplied with an adequate lubricant. Check the oil level or grease and change if necessary. Second is variation. Variation is in order for a gear drive to operate satisfactorily, it must run within safe vibration limits. If the vibration parameter change with time above a given limit, it could also mean something is wrong. Next, the alignment. Alignment, if the alignment of the gear drive to connected load is not met carefully, the complaint may fail. The complaint can then transmit bending moment back into a gear drive. To that, backlash. Check the backlash of a gear drive using failure gauge, dual test indicator or sheet materials. Next, gear tooth wear. Check the tooth surface deterioration and tooth breakage by visual inspection. Last point is tooth contact. The most satisfactory way of checking tooth contact is to apply a very thin coating of engineer marking blue or another marking medium. The tooth contact will indicate the proper gear mesh of a gear drive to rotate smoothly. Okay, that's all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is MUHAMAD ZAMRI. My metric card number is 09DKM18F1009. Today I want to talk about gear checklist for preventive maintenance. Okay, so the first one is check the gearbox rating. It is very important to check for the thermal and mechanical rating of the gearbox. Also, not to forget, you should ensure that the gearbox is operating as per specification of the manufacturer. Okay, next is clean the gearbox. This is another one most important point in the checklist, which goes a long way in allowing the gearbox to deliver great performance. Most of the time, the gearbox is operated in dirty or dusty environment, which can contaminate it. This can feature affect its performance. Hence, it is important to clean the components regularly. The third one is check for oil leak. There shall not be any oil leak which can hamper the overall performance of the gearbox. Oil leaks are a result of the failure of shaft seal and allow water, dust and debris to enter and affect the lubrication. Therefore, it is highly advisable to check the shaft seal of the component. Next, ensure correct breacher type and style. You should ensure whether the breacher of proper type and style is employed. This helps keep dust, water and debris from entering the gearbox and allow it to breathe easily. Next, perform regulator lubrication. We need a proper and timely lubrication. By proper lubrication, it means that it should adhere to the grade, type, and quantity specification of the manufacturer. Next, avoid overheating. You can use an infrared temperature gun to keep a check on the sudden change in the temperature. Overheating should be avoided. You can look for signs of overheating, such as discolored exterior paint. Next, check gear contacts and wear. In regular interval of usage, you should check for the possible wear of a gearbox. Also check whether there is any misalignment of the contact between the gear teeth. Next, perform vibration analysis. Generally, gearbox are used in noisy environment. Therefore, even if there is any chance of rise in the gearbox noise, it can go unnoticed, which is very risky. Thus, it is highly recommended to carry out vibration analysis to keep a close check on the gearbox noise and vibration. Lastly, check the shaft end play and backlash. Is there any increase in the end play at the output or input shaft? Is there any increase in the backlash between the gear mesh? You can check this condition with the help of a dial indicator. Okay, the next slide is about gear symptom. There are a few gear symptoms that we can detect at first. The first symptom is noise. Noise is the first warning sign of a transmission problem. The sooner the problem is caught and repaired, the better. Fewer parts will be affected and any repair will be less expensive. Next symptom is whining and howling. Whining that appears relatively suddenly and become very loud over a short period of time can be indicative of damage to the gear teeth or gear hub bearing. The most likely source of this damage is a shortage of lubrication. Next, rumbling and growling. Low-pitched growling or rumbling noise when the engine is running are usually the sign of a faulty rolling element, also known as a ball or roller bearing. They are extremely sensitive to small bits of metal ordered in the lubricant film between the bearing element and cause the roller to drag across the surface of the race. The more foreign metal in the oil, the faster the bearing will wear. The next symptom is buzzing and hissing. If the gear shifter or the shift line edge are making a hissing or buzzing noise while the car is moving, particularly while the vehicle is acceleration or descending, a loose bolt or worn rubber isolated in the shift line edge is the more common cause. Other causes of this high frequency noise including bent shift fork, shift rod or interlock, or even excessive movement in the synchronizer sleeve. Next symptom is banging and clunking. Banging and clunking felt in the shift lever and heard under the machine usually indicates a broken or loose motor mount. Commonly, the noise is louder when letting out the clutch when taking off from a stop. Broken mount may also result in a clunky noise when accelerating or decelerating gently. Next symptom is grinding and shifting problem. The most common shifting complaint is grinding or crunching when shifting into gear, which is usually felt as much as it is heard. The noise itself is caused by the end of the synchronizer sleeve internal spline banging against the external ductile spline because the gear and sleeve are rotating at different speeds. This occurs as a result of something failing in the synchronization process. Inefficient synchronizer performance can be caused by either a problem in the transmission or by a spirit clutch issue. The next symptom is out of the ordinary behavior. You know your machine and how it's handled. If the gear starts changing for no reason, such as if you are out on the open progress and your gearbox shift into a different gear or it slide into neutral in automatic, you have a problem with the shifting. Another tail sign to keep on the up. 4 is a whine or accompanying pitch shift from the engine. The next one is smells and odor. Light smells and burning odor, leaving a sweet and tart fragrance in your vehicle, which may indicate it's time for you to change the transmission fluid. If the fluid is not keeping the system proper lubricate, then if the fluid is not keeping the system properly lubricate, then it's time for a change to prevent the unit from burning itself out. Lastly, the last symptom is leaking fluid and low level. This is possibly the easiest symptom on our list to spot. All you have to do is check under the car for leaks or under the machine for leaks. By pressing a few or piece of paper or cardboard, you're looking for the telltale of red color of transmission fluid, which also has a slightly sweet smell, unlike motor oil. Your transmission fluid level should stay constant, so any sign of this fluid under the car is indicate of a leak. To perform the fluid check, rest your machine for a short time in neutral before pulling out the dipstick without turning your machine off. Lastly, this is the example of record observation for preventive maintenance. The first table you can see is the gear drive maintenance log. The next one is a table for gear drive repair report. It contains all of the part, the failure description, and the mark. That's all. Thank you for today.
Assalamualaikum, my name is MUHAMAD SHAFIEE. Today I'm going to present about develop maintenance procedure. Okay, this is for the first one, for the wear and tear gear. For the first one is preparation for inspection. As you can see, description preparing disassemble equipment, this should be top priority. Second, we check for failure inspection. We obtain enough information about the machine from the operator. The third one is visual examination. Visual examination you can see as the seal condition, and you disassemble the machine and inspect all internal component, both fail and undamaged. After that, record the wear and damaged gear. The fourth one, we must obtain information about gear geometry. For example, as you can see, number of teeth outside the meter, face wide, gear housing center distance from each gear, hole deep teeth, and tooth thickness. And next one, we must take specimen for laboratory test. We take the broken part for the laboratory evaluation. If not possible, we can just preserve for later analysis. And after that, we determine the type of failure. For example, the wear type for this gear: adhesive, abrasion, corrosive, fretting, corrosion, polishing, electric discharge, cavitation, erosion. And you can tick the severity, for example, mild or severe. For the next one is for lubrication, contamination, and incorrect lubrication step. Okay, step 1, we must identify all the loop point of machine center. This should be supervised by a person that maintain the machine. The step 2, as the bearing are inspected, learner should have notation about any blow, seal or evidence that are damaged. Once the broken or defective examined, we can replace the part. Step 3, once we have identification has been complete, then it is possible the machine has received any grease at all, so that is the main problem. Step 4, calculate the manufacturer recommended lubrication interval and amount. Step 5, as we can see, we write the procedure, start one at the end of the machine and bearing in order. So each bearing must be listed in number and document for technician initial and number short apply and date. Step 6, lubrication technique must be trained in proper methodology before allowed to perform the work. For example, the grease part is important because it can long our machine life. Step 7, once you have performed your lubrication procedure, you must monitor the result. The most efficient way, we can use thermal technology. After the machine has run for hour or two, check them in thermal camera. If the machine is running too hot, we can see the procedure is incorrect. Step 8, follow up for next inspection. Overheating, we can, for the first list is determine your system limitation. For example, the first step is avoiding overheating is knowing your system capability. Okay, the second one is decreasing heat load. We can change our part and fuel when they begin to degrade or otherwise go bad, and perform routine inspection to make sure you catch the issue before halting problem.